I think a funny thing about sort of LinkedIn culture, I'd like to call it, is this idea of like setting goals. You want to progress your way up the chain. You can think very recently about the current Nike CEO who started off as an intern and worked his way up all the way to CEO. And that's very, inspirational. I'm not saying that, we shouldn't achieve that. But I feel like a lot of people these days find themselves, that satisfaction, that little like dopamine boost of setting a goal maybe when it's January 1st or the beginning of a new job or school year or internship or whatever the case is, saying, by the end of this, I'm going to, get a higher position. I'm going to be well known. Maybe my pay raise is going to be better. I'm going to get a bonus, such and so forth. But we find ourselves time and time again not completing our goals. We don't, we never think back of the times like, you know, am I working towards my goal? Am I, nearing my goal? Has my goal been fulfilled? And for a lot of people, even if their goals have been fulfilled, by the time they reach that position, they don't think twice. There's always something bigger, brighter, and more attractive to keep them motivated. So this video kind of it's part 4, I think, now in Bhagavad Gita lessons about what is proper goal setting and how can I lead a successful life, a goal-oriented, successful life. So I think the biggest, I'm going to have like 3 subtopics I wrote here. The number 1 for me is focusing on effort, not results. I think I've quoted this verse before, but it's probably my favorite verse in the entire book because of how it just encapsulates everything Krishna is trying to say to Arjuna. And so this is chapter 2, verse 47, which goes, "You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to inaction." I mentioned this last video about, relationships and moving on from your exes or loved ones who've passed away and such and so forth. But you can actually apply to this in terms of goal setting. And I think about it like this, right? A lot of people, I would assume, especially men, young men, in high school, I remember even today in college, a lot of dudes envision themselves, like they're very confident about the fact that they are going to be millionaires. Like it's a very realistic, probable possibility in a lot of their eyes, and I think that's pretty interesting. Of course, we know that that's not going to happen. Not everybody's going to get that nice, McMansion off the lake and have a couple Land Rovers on the side with a Corvette or whatever you want. And this I don't think this is an exclusively male thing. I remember the TikTok trend where women used to post about their dream lives of their dream house, what their dream man would look like, and like kind of funny little stick figures and like how many dogs they would have or children or whatnot. So it comes from both both of the sexes in terms of like what we envision for ourselves, and that in itself is the goal and the mark of excellence and the mark of happiness. Once I attain this certain thing, then I'll be happy. But like I said, we find ourselves, even as a kid, I always thought about like, oh, when I'm 10 years old, oh, when I'm 12 years old, when I'm 13 years old, whatever the case is, the older I am, the more happy I'll be, the more freedom I'll get, and such and so forth. Yet here I find myself struggling with my happiness more than ever compared to, when I was 5 years old or in grade school and whatnot. So this hits on another idea of selfless action and detachment. In verse 19 of chapter 3, Krishna goes, "Always perform your duty efficiently and without attachment. By working without attachment, one attains the supreme." Now, the supreme here is the context of enlightenment, breaking free from that reincarnation cycle. But even if you don't believe in that, I think it's a very good distinction to draw about the idea of duty. What is duty? What is my duty? A lot of people ask me, I understand that I should perform my duty and let go of attachment, but how do I find my duty? I think the best thing to understand is that just because you are really good at something doesn't necessarily mean that is your passion, that is your duty, that is your hobby. Arjuna wasn't even the best warrior in the land there. In the epic poem, there are many other warriors that get mentioned who outperform Arjuna in many instances. I think about a lot of things that I like to be good at. Um, graphic design is a hobby of mine. I would say I'm a pretty good graphic designer, but my duty doesn't really align with that. Now, why do I know that? It's because I think the best telltale sign of what your duty is something that when you do it, when you perform the action, that in itself is its own reward. That in itself is satisfying in itself. For a lot of people who are in school right now, your duty is to be a good student, and you can define that however you'd like. But the end goal should be, when I take these notes in class, when I listen to my professor, when I engage in these extracurricular activities, when I pick up, my new internships or work experience, that in itself is its own reward. If you're thinking, I'm going to get this internship so I'll land a great chance at getting into graduate school, or I'll end up getting a better job and making more money, you'll find yourself unsatisfied. One and two, you're just going to not get as far as you'd like. Time and time again, we find the masters of everything to be the ones who actually enjoy the action itself, rather than the rewards and the aesthetic, so to speak, that comes with it. And last but not least, I have stay steady in success and failure. In chapter 2, verse 48, he goes, perform your duty with equanimity, abandoning attachment to success and failure. In success and failure, such of evenness is called yoga. It's simple as that, right? It's okay to have desires. I'm not saying, go inside of a cave and lock yourself up and just meditate all day and come out when you eat like a grain of rice or something crazy you hear about people in the Himalayas do. But I'm saying, understand that there is a difference between your desires and your attachment to said desires. We have so many desires every single day. But by attaching yourself to these desires, that's when trouble starts brewing. And you may ask me, what is attachment? What does that look like? I can give you a great example, right? Let's say I don't get the grade I'd like in a certain course. If I let that define me, if I let that say, you know what, I'm a failure, I'm never going to go to law school, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to be the man who I want to be, that's attachment, because you're giving that agency. At the end of the day, when you're in your bed, ready to, hit the hay, you're the one who says, am I happy? Am I sad? You know, who am I? Am I valuable? Am I comfortable in my own skin? You are the one that gets to decide that. And I think that's very important. So instead of saying, I guess this is in summary, instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to be the best lawyer, I'm going to be the best finance major in my school, or I'm going to get the best internship, I'm going to make the most money, I'm going to have so many businesses, whatever the case is, whatever floats your boat, whatever you've been thinking about, kind of let go of those goals. I think those goals are very, um, shall I say, like elusive, kind of fake. I think a better goal, let's just say someone who wants to go into finance, say, you know what, every single day I'm going to put forth my 100% effort. I'm going to learn the enjoyment of, learning about finance. I'm going to pursue the enjoyment of learning from others. My internship, for example, I'm going to enjoy the action of being able to help a company, help people, build relationships. That in itself is much more of a goal that allows you to succeed. And this is not just coming from the Bhagavad Gita. This is a philosophy that I feel like is echoed throughout many traditions and philosophies and whatnot. But I think it's been lost in our generation specifically because of these, glorified aestheticisms where it's like, it's not about, who I am as a person. It's about the things that are associated with myself, what job I have, how much money I make, such and so forth. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with being rich. I'm not the one advocating for you to, go homeless, live like a nomad, live in an RV. I'm not saying that at all. It's applaudable. It's very good, having success, having things of that nature. But the main takeaway of this video is detaching yourself from that. And, therefore, a better goal is not anything external. If your goal is external, if your goal has anything to do with the external, I want this person, I need this person in my life, I want to make this amount of money, I want to get this kind of job, I want this position, you are never going to be happy. Even if you get that goal, chances are you are still going to find yourself maybe happy for a very short split second, and it's on to the next thing. It's on to the next external goal that I set myself. So a goal should be internal. It should be, I'm going to be the hardest worker. I'm a kind person. I'm a peaceful person. I'm a loving person, whatever the case is. Those goals are attainable, they're measurable, and they're going to get you farther in life than you realize. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you soon.